8:32 a.m., the alarm at Joint Base Elmendorf Richardson is still screaming as the lead F-22 Raptor rips off the tarmac, banking into a violent 9G vertical climb that shatters the morning silence. There is no time for a slow buildup. 400 meters out, two Russian Tu-95 Bear H strategic bombers and a pair of Su-35 Flanker E heavy fighters are already crossing the line into the Alaska Air Defense Identification Zone. These are platforms for KAH-101 cruise missiles, stealthy long-range weapons designed to fly low and strike deep into the American heartland. The American pilots are pushing their throttles to the stops, racing to intercept a nuclear-capable formation before it reaches its launch point. This is a high-speed, high-stakes collision of two superpowers at the edge of the world. The battle actually began over an hour ago, far below the clouds. At 7:15 a.m., the USS Hopper, a 9,000-ton Arleigh Burke-class guided missile destroyer, was slamming through 10-foot Arctic swells in the Gulf of Alaska. The ship isn't just patrolling, it's an active sensor predator. Its APY-1D phased array radar, the heart of the Aegis combat system, was already burning through the Russian electronic jamming. The Hopper locked on to the Russian bombers while they were still over international waters, capturing their exact altitude and speed. Instead of staying passive, the Hopper's crew aggressively pushed that data through Link 16, a secure tactical network that acts like a high-speed internet for war. By 9:45 a.m., the Aegis computer had already shared a fire control quality track with NORAD headquarters. This gave the American military a 90-minute head start to position their kill chain. The USS Hopper didn't just watch the Russians, it bracketed them, coordinating with Space Force satellites to ensure that the Tu-95 Bear H bombers couldn't hide behind the curvature of the Earth. The sailors in the Hopper's Combat Information Center were already simulating SM-6 launches, calculating exactly where they would intercept any Russian cruise missiles if the Russians dared to open their bomb bays. By 9 a.m., the air above the Bering Strait has become a tactical chessboard. An E-3 Sentry OWACS is carving through the sky at 30,000 feet, its APY-25 rotating radar dome acting as a massive flashlight in the dark. The OWACS isn't just observing, it's actively directing the F-22 Raptors into a stealth pincer movement. The Tu-95 Bear H bombers are loud, their Knitsoff NK-12 turboprop engines creating a sonic signature so massive that the U.S. Navy's SOS underwater arrays can hear them through the water. But the Russian Su-35 Flanker E escorts are trying to be clever, using their BIS-E passive radar to sniff out the American fighters. The F-22 Raptors respond with total electronic silence. At 9:12 a.m., the lead Raptor pilot executes a split S maneuver, diving from the sun to stay in the Russians' blind spots. He isn't using his own radar yet. He's receiving a live data feed from the OWACS and the USS Hopper directly into his helmet-mounted cueing system. The American jets are using their APG-77 AESA radar in a low probability of intercept mode, hopping frequencies so fast that the Russian sensors think it's just background stat. The Russian pilots are scanning the horizon, looking for a target that isn't there, unaware that the F-22s are already sitting in their 6 o'clock high. At 9:15 a.m., the American pilots flip their master arms to hot. They have a digital lock on all 4 Russian aircraft. The F-22's ALR-94 electronic warfare suite is already fingerprinting the Russian jets, cataloging their radar frequencies for future use. The Russians are flying into a trap where every move they make is being countered by a system of systems that they can't even see. The Russian pilots received their first shock at 9:20 a.m. without any warning on their electronic warfare suites. 2 F-22s suddenly appear right on their wingtips. The F-22s didn't just fly up to them, they used their stealth to teleport into the Russians' visual range. The F-22s perform a slow, high angle of attack maneuver, utilizing their thrust vectoring engines to hover effortlessly alongside the turboprop bombers. It is a psychological message. We've been here for 20 minutes and you never saw us. Every American fighter is armed for a fight they know they'll win. Each F-22 carries 6 AM-120C DM AMRAAM hidden in internal bays to maintain its stealth profile. These missiles have a range of over 100 miles and their own active radar seekers. If things go south, the pilot also has 2 AIM-9X sidewinders, heat seekers. The AIM-9X is an off-bore sight weapon, meaning the pilot can shoot down a Russian jet just by looking at it through his helmet-mounted visor, even if his plane is pointed the other way. By 9:35 a.m., the Russian Su-35 pilots attempt to get aggressive, banking toward the Americans to see if they can force a break. The Raptor pilots don't flinch. They use the F-22's superior maneuverability to stay in the 6 o'clock position of the Russian fighters, the ultimate kill zone in aerial combat. The Su-35 might have Saturn AL-41F1S engines with 3D TVC thrust vectoring, but it's carrying heavy external fuel tanks and R-77 missiles that ruin its aerodynamics. The F-22, with its weapons stored internally, is as slick as a scalpel. The American pilots remain calm, their communication handled through the M1 SJTRS. This is the satisfaction of efficiency, watching a $300 million Russian formation get put into a tactical cage by 2 pilots who haven't even broken a sweat. While the air-to-air drama is unfolding, the U.S. Navy is providing a massive layer of insurance from the surface. At 9:45 a.m., the USL Hopper and the USS Kidd have their Mark 41 vertical launch systems in a high state of readiness. Each destroyer is a $1.8 billion masterclass in multi-domain defense. If the Russian bombers had dared to launch a KAH-101 cruise missile, the destroyers were prepared to launch the SM-6. The SM-6 is a $4.3 million interceptor that can kill everything from a sea-skimming cruise missile to a ballistic missile in its terminal phase. Because of the cooperative engagement capability, the Hopper could fire its SM-6 based on the radar data from the OWACS plane, hitting the Russian missile long before the destroyer's own radar could even see it over the horizon. In the background, the Navy is also securing the undersea domain. At 9:50 a.m., a P-8A Poseidon maritime patrol aircraft is circling 50 miles away. It has dropped a pattern of SSQ-53G sonobuoys to ensure no Russian Bora-class submarines are trying to use the air intercept as a distraction. The Poseidon is armed with Mark 54 lightweight torpedoes, and its APY-10 radar is scanning the surface for periscopes. The Russians aren't just facing 2 jets, they're facing a coordinated wall of steel that stretches from the sea floor to the stratosphere. The coordination is so tight that the P-8A is sharing its acoustic data with the USS Hopper, which in turn is feeding the big picture to the F-22s. This is the definition of unstoppable power. At 10:15 a.m., the American endurance is put on display. A KC-135 Stratotanker meets the F-22s over the Beaufort Sea for a mid-air refueling. The Raptors can stay in the air as long as the pilots can stay awake. The KC-135 is supported by the KC-46 Pegasus, ensuring that the kill chain never runs out of gas. It costs about $85,000 per hour to keep a single F-22 in the air, but the return on investment is clear. By spending approximately $2.5 million on this entire operation, the U.S. military has successfully neutralized a strategic threat to the entire North American continent. Think about the economics of power here. For the price of a small real estate development, the U.S. just proved that the Russian strategic bomber fleet is effectively obsolete. They protected the Alaskan oil pipelines, the port of Anchorage, and the shipping lanes that carry billions of dollars in trade every year. The Russian Tu-95s, which cost millions to maintain and fly, were forced to turn back without achieving a single objective. Their invisible, stealth-painted Cow-101 cruise missiles never even had a chance to leave the rack. This isn't just a military win, it's an economic one. It signals to global markets that the Arctic trade routes are safe and the American energy infrastructure is untouchable. The professionalism of the KC-46 Pegasus boom operator at 10:20 a.m. is a perfect example of the human element. While the jets are bobbing in the Arctic turbulence, the refueling boom is guided with millimeter precision. This allows the F-22 pilots to keep their eyes on the Russian bombers even while taking on fuel. It's a seamless transition that most navies and air forces in the world struggle to perform in broad daylight, let alone in the high-stress environment of an active intercept. At 10:45 a.m., the Russian bombers finally bank to the west, heading back toward the Russian Far East. The F-22s follow them until they're well outside the Aegis, ensuring no last-minute provocations occur. As the Russians retreat, the AWACS and the USS Hopper continue to track them for another 300 miles. The American system of systems doesn't stop just because the threat is moving away. It continues to collect data. The USS Hopper used its AN/SLQ-32 V6 electronic warfare suite to catalog the radar signatures and radio frequencies used by the Russian Su-35s. This data is the real payoff. It's known as electronic fingerprinting. Every radar system has a unique pulse repetition frequency and power output. By capturing this data at 10:55 a.m., the U.S. Navy now has a library of exactly how these specific Russian jets operate. This info will be uploaded to the Navy's Central Intelligence servers, where it'll be used to program the electronic countermeasures of every other ship and plane in the fleet. The Russians didn't just fail their mission, they accidentally handed over their electronic secrets to the Americans. By 11:30 a.m., the F-22s are back on the tarmac at Elmendorf. The mission is over, but the data processing is just beginning. The lessons learned from this encounter are clear. The Arctic is a networked battlefield where the speed of information is the deciding factor. The U.S. Navy and NORAD proved that the northern door is locked tight. They've demonstrated that even in the most remote part of the world, American technology can create a God's eye view that leaves the opponent zero opportunity for surprise. The human element remains the most impressive part of the machine. The F-22 pilot isn't just a flyer, he's a data manager. He's operating a platform that has more raw processing power than 1,000 high-end gaming PCs, and he's doing it while pulling 9 Gs in a freezing cockpit. His professionalism combined with the discipline of the sailors on the USS Hopper is why the American victory was inevitable. The Russian crews, meanwhile, are heading back to a base where they have to explain why their $300 million formation was effectively held hostage by a network they couldn't even see. This intercept didn't just protect Alaska, it sent a message to every peer adversary on the planet. Challenging the U.S. Navy and the Air Force in an integrated environment is a losing game. The kill chain is too fast, the sensors are too sharp, and the coordination is too perfect. As the Russian bombers land back in their silos, their crews have to face the terrifying reality that they were never in control of the fight. From the moment they warmed up their engines, they were already inside an American tactical cage. Now, you are the tactical action officer aboard the USS Hopper. The situation, it is 9:30 a.m. You have the Russian bombers tracked on your Spy-1D radar. Suddenly, your sonar team reports a biological-looking contact moving at 40 miles per hour, a possible Russian Boryay-class nuclear submarine attempting to use the air intercept as a distraction to slip past your position. At the same moment, the E-3 AWACS reports that one of the Su-35 flankers has turned its nose toward the F-22s and activated its jamming suite. The dilemma: you have limited bandwidth on your Link 16 network. Do you prioritize sending targeting data for the submarine to a P-8 Poseidon maritime patrol aircraft, or do you dedicate your electronic warfare suite to helping the F-22s burn through the Su-35's jamming? If you ignore the sub, it could reach a launch position for its nuclear missiles. If you ignore the jamming, the F-22s might lose their tactical advantage and be forced into a dangerous dogfight. The question: do you split the defense and risk being mediocre at both, or do you commit to the air and trust that the sub is a decoy? Comment your tactics below. How would you manage the kill chain when the stakes are this high? In the modern world, the invisible war is won by those who can process data faster than the enemy can fire a bullet. The Russian Tu-95s and Su-35s came looking for a weakness and found a system of systems that left them zero opportunity. The U.S. military's coordinated power remains the undisputed master of the Arctic, ensuring that the northern door stays locked tight and the rules of the sky remain in American hands. If you want to see more second-by-second breakdowns of how the U.S. military uses this networked power to maintain global stability, make sure you hit the like and subscribe buttons. We're going to keep decoding the technology and the tactics that define the front lines. The situation described in this video is a technical and tactical analysis based on reports regarding U.S. intercepts of Russian aircraft near Alaska. While based on real-world military assets, technical specifications, and regional tensions, the specific tactical developments and engagement sequences are hypothetical.